Hi, it's Laurie and welcome back to Eco-Friendly Earth. So for today's video I wanted to talk about endangered species, and I thought this would be best to split into two separate videos, one to cover ocean species and one to cover land species. Today's a turn of the ocean species, and I wanted to talk about 6 of the most endangered animals we have living within our oceans and the threats that they're facing due to humanity and our activities. Now the first animal I'm going to talk about is sea turtles. Now sea turtles are one of my favourite animals, and I'm really passionate about their conservation, as I am with all animals. And there are 7 different species of sea turtles living within our oceans. These are the hawksbill, the green, the leatherback, the loggerhead, the Hemp's ridley, the olive ridley and the flatback, which are only found in Australia. The rest are all found worldwide and are essential for our ocean ecosystems. They are essential in the health of the seagrass beds and for the coral reefs overall, and so are very important to our ocean life. They have also been around since the dinosaurs were walking the earth, and this is a massive thing, as they have survived over millions of years and a mass extinction that happened way back when. Now, the fact that humanity as a whole and our activities in this planet have brought a species such as this to the brink of extinction, the fact that some of them are critically endangered, is disgraceful, and it's just something that I don't even want to think about, the fact of not having turtles on this planet. Now, the main reason they are endangered is due to poaching of their eggs for their meat and for their shells, the habitat destruction due to the coral bleachings, the habitats being destroyed by boats and everything else, and also the climate change, the sea temperatures going up, the sand temperatures changing is really bad for their nesting and for their hatchlings, as the hatchlings can actually change sex dependent on the temperature of the sand, which can then outweigh the boys to the girls, which makes it harder to mate and create the population to make it bigger and try and grow it more, so they become less endangered over time. Now these are a species I don't want to lose, and they're the first one on my list of endangered species. The second one I want to talk about is the vaquita. Now the vaquita is a species of small porpoise, and they're found in the Gulf of California. There are only 10 individuals left on the whole planet. Their entire population is contained there in marine protected waters. Now the main threat to their species is the fact that in these marine protected waters people were still illegally fishing and bycatching them in the nets, and this is how their population decreased rapidly over time. People were fishing in areas they shouldn't have been in, and this is where the vaquitas were living, and they were caught and their population decreased massively, and now there are 10 left. It's going to be really hard to try and build this population back up, and they are so endangered that literally within the next couple of years they could be extinct. There is that little of them known to be living in the sea, and this is a shame really, as it's a lesser known species. It's quite rare, not a lot of people have probably heard of them even, and yeah, to lose them would be a devastating blow for the planet. As usual, any animal that we could lose would be devastating, as they are all important in our ecosystems. Now, the third animal I want to talk about is a whale shark, and this is the biggest type of shark that we have on the planet in our oceans, and they are amazing creatures. Now, the big problem for them, they're endangered, and this is because people want to take them out the sea and use them for their fins, for their meat, and for the oil that they can get from them, and this is a big trade, usually within countries like Southeast Asia and places like that, as these are a big trade for them in their food markets. Now, they also are a species that are subject to bycatching, which is the same as the vaquitas. They are accidentally caught in nets that are used for fishing, and these are usually big trawler nets that catch like millions of fish at the same time, and these animals are getting caught in it as well, and this is a big problem for a lot of marine species to why their populations are decreasing, because they're getting caught by fishing nets, and by the time they're pulled up, most of them are already, it's too late to save them or to put them back, and so yeah, their populations are decreasing for reasons such as that. It's also a problem of tourism. Now, tourism can be brilliant for these animals, as it can give money to their conservation efforts and stuff like that. However, with boats and stuff, boat strikes are so common that animals get hit by propellers, they get hit by the front and the back of the boat, they get hit by anything to do with boats and people out there looking at them. And now, although the money is raised for their conservation a lot of the time for people to go out and actually see them in the wild, it can have a catch-22 that it's good for them, but it's also bad for them at the same time, as the boats can be harmful to them, and when it kills them, obviously it's just decreasing their population and stuff like that. And although tourism shouldn't be a bad thing, it can be in these circumstances. Now, the next one I want to talk about is the humphead wrassie. Now, the humphead wrasse is a fish that has a brain-like structure on top of its head. They're really cool looking creatures, and they are essential for the reefs. They live on the coral reefs, and they eat a species of starfish called the crown of thorn. Now, these are predators on the reef, and they harm the reef and the animals that live there, and so by eating these are essential for keeping our reefs alive and growing and not under threat from these starfish, and they do their bit. And the problem is they are now endangered, and this is because of poaching. There is a big meat market for these fish, and this is in Southeast Asia as well. They are taken from the sea, they are sold for meat, sold for their you know, everything about them basically is being sold, and it's over poaching. They're taking so many that they're becoming endangered because they just want them for food and what they can get out of them, and their species is decreasing. Now, with their species decreasing, that means there's less to eat the starfish on the reefs, and this could be detrimental to the reef. Basically, all of these animals do their bit, and the thing is, if they weren't there to do their bit, then something else would be happening, and it all has a knock-on effect. It's like dominoes. Our ecosystems work so perfectly together that to lose a species from it would just be awful. Now, the next one I want to talk about is the blue whale, our biggest mammal on the planet, and they are absolutely huge, absolutely beautiful, and amazing, really. They are endangered. Again, it's boat strikes are a big problem. I mean, whaling's not a big thing at the minute, but a lot of people can illegally still whale, you know, as illegal things do happen in all parts of this. But yeah, so they are endangered, and it is thought that there are between 10,000 and 25,000 left on the planet, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually not, because how vast our oceans are, there should be millions of these whales. They shouldn't be being taken for anything, and they shouldn't be endangered. They should be able to thrive in their natural habitat, and they can't because of human activity, and the sea temperatures and all things like that are all going to start. It's also habitation loss. Like when their habitats are being intoxicated by oils and fumes and everything that we pump into the ocean, and all of our air pollution, everything that goes into the ocean affects their habitats, and the fact that they are stroked by ships as well, and climate change, the sea temperatures changing, is having a big effect on them as well. It just means that their world is getting smaller in the sea, and it's harder for them to find places where they can actually thrive. I mean, there are some whales that can adapt, but some may not, and this means that their populations are going to decrease massively. The last one I want to talk about is the penguins, specifically the ones that live on the islands of the Galapagos, and these are a special colony that live just on the Galapagos Islands. They don't live anywhere else. This is the only place in the world you can find them, and they are close to 2,000 members left individually in their colonies. And the fact that there is only a few more than 2,000 sounds again like a lot, but it really isn't. These penguins should be expanding, and instead their populations are declining more and more. This again is to do with pollution. The fact that oil spills in the water affects them really badly. Any type of pollution, temperatures going up, temperatures going down, it all has a knock-on effect to these animals. They are also subject to climate change, and bycatching again is a big issue. Now, bycatching in the ocean is a massive thing for these animals. They get caught up in nets all the time for overfishing, and the fact that marine protected waters are still illegally fished in really defeats the point of having marine protected waters. People shouldn't be allowed to fish in there because of the problem that they're catching animals that shouldn't be caught in their nets and taking them out the ocean, often dead, and it's having a massive impact. Now, these are just 6 of our endangered animals. There are more than 6 on this planet. There are so many species that are endangered at the minute, and this is all to do with human activity. There is nothing else that is causing it. It is basically down to what we have done to the planet, and how our planet is now reacting back to it, and how it's changing itself, and how this affects our species. Like I've said, our ecosystems work so perfectly, and one minute detail that changes, such as an animal missing, a predator missing, a prey animal going extinct, this has a massive effect for things that people wouldn't even think about. It all works in perfect harmony, and it can't when certain animals just don't have the numbers, they can't survive, and their habitats are changing so much. So that's all I wanted to talk about, and I hope I've taught you something about the different species that we actually have in the water, because some of them you might not have even heard of. Obviously, some are common, some are not, and yeah, I just hope that you will still do your bit to save the planet and get involved with the conservation, even if it's only the littlest bit, just to try and help these animals stay, and to change your lives even in the smallest of ways, to do your bit to contribute to changing this climate change disaster, and to try and help these animals come back from the brink of extinction and increase their populations. So thank you for watching, and as always, do your bit to save the planet.